All right, hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. This channel is for educational purposes, and we check into great theories, concepts, and discoveries that you might not know anything about because they've been suppressed. The powers that be, in general, do not want you to know about this kind of stuff. And this is a segment that we have. It's called Your Blind Side, where I try to protect the six of the info warriors out there, the diggers, anons, truthers, conspiracy theorists that are doing their digging but may not see the big picture, um, and just for them to keep in mind that I see you as a normie. You talk about the seagrass and the normies, um, often with derision, people that don't know what the hell they're talking about, people that are asleep. We are awake, but you are asleep. Um, well, I see all of you as being asleep. Um, and not necessarily because I'm awake, but just because you've exposed yourself, um, because I can see that there's one aspect of things that you're just not looking at all, which is your uh, belief systems. You have scrutinized the hell out of everything in the world, all of the false flags and hoaxes and psyops and spectacles, amplified messaging, and you know, reenactments that are happening out there in the info war, and we've seen everything that it just all looks very shady, absurd, and it's for waking up the normies. But there's got to be something to wake you guys up because you're not ready. If we're going to win this info war, which I believe that we already really have, um, well, then you're going to have to implement your agenda. And your agenda is not ready to be implemented because it's infected with all this deep state propaganda that you haven't exorcised from your belief systems, in particular your religious beliefs. You go into a trance as soon as the word Jesus Christ is pronounced, or as soon as these are incantations. As soon as the Bible is invoked, you automatically go into deference mode. Like, oh, this is something that I'm supposed to be deferential of. Well, unfortunately, a truther is not deferential to anything except for the truth. And so these things have to be re examined in new light. Uh, are they psyops? Are they hoaxes? Are they false flags? Did they really happen? Do they stand up to scrutiny? And if you put your holy book and your religion under those standards, it will fail. It will not survive that level of scrutiny. And perhaps that is why you refuse to examine it. But I do believe that there's some of you out there that would examine it, but you're just uh, you're too nice, and you have allowed yourself to fall into a trance. But perhaps if it's pointed out to you, then you'll be like, oh, yeah, well, I can see that that is an issue. I can see that maybe I should do something about that. And so, what you know, uh, I'll just give you the cliff notes. The New Testament of the Bible was a psychological operation written by the Romans, by the Caesars of the first century, late first century, the Flavian dynasty, and they wrote the uh, New Testament as a psychological operation against the Jews. The Jews had been a big pain in the butt for the Romans for over 100 years, up to that point, culminating in a 7-year long war from 66 to 73 AD. Two of the Roman emperors, Vespasian and Titus, were actually wounded in the war, and they had a vested interest in making sure that the Jews did not um, uh, fight anymore. Even though they decimated the Jews in that war that they won, they did not want a repeat. And so they uh, took advantage of the fact that that the Jews were waiting on a Messiah, a military commander who was going to help them overthrow the Romans. But instead, the Romans proposed a Jewish Messiah who was a Prince of Peace and believed in rendering unto Caesar and walking the extra mile and turning the other cheek. And this is the motive. The method is something tried and true for the Romans. The Romans created a bunch of religions in the first century, at least half a dozen other religions as well as Christianity. And they had the opportunity, um, and they were really the only people who had the opportunity to do this and the means to do it. They controlled all of publishing and distribution within the empire as well as censorship. And how the Romans did it is they did it through the work of Josephus, the Jewish Roman historian who wrote a 7-volume work called War of the Jews. And if you go through that work, which is a history of this war that we're discussing from 66 to 73, it recounts many different episodes, but in particular recounts the military exploits of General Titus, who eventually becomes the new emperor, but at this point is the general uh, in Judea, fighting particularly the guy who took over Jerusalem. And Titus's military campaign is used as a model for Jesus's ministry. You also have to keep in mind that the Christian story is nothing unique. The Christian story is a cookie cutter of all the pagan myths and rituals, myths and legends that are out there. The ancient Indian stories, the ancient Chinese, Japanese, Persian, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Jewish stories out there all are stories of a Son of God who comes down and incarnates on earth, does wonders, healings, um, and other, um, you know, great acts, and is unjustly accused and killed, and then goes back up to heaven. And this is uh, basically the cookie cutter. This is the story that all of these myths have. And the Jesus myth just fits right into that mode. So this is what you're dealing with. You have to see the bigger picture. And my videos on my channel maybe would help you with that. I've got all of these Bible decode videos, and I go over the literature. Um, the a large amount of literature that is on the Roman origins hypothesis and show you uh, with evidence, specific evidence of how the Romans did this and what it all means. And so you may want to start reviewing the videos on my channel. Um, and otherwise, you can do your own research and dig your own rabbit holes and find the same results. But to be complacent and just sit there and be deferential to Christianity and the Bible right now is going to be very much of a not good idea because history repeats itself and it's going to end up with witch burnings, crusades, and inquisitions and missionary work at gunpoint. And instead, I think the alternative is we go forward with a platform of deism, deism as the belief in one God who is good, who is has given the human beings the ability to behold God's creation, nature, and the laws of physics and math, and the heavens, and to be able to understand God directly through those agencies, and ability to be able to understand God directly with no intermediaries, no books, no priests, pastors, popes, uh, but directly. And this is the challenge for the new age. Um, all right. Like, share, subscribe, comment, contribute, share, and come back tomorrow for another episode. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember to watch your blind side.